Back in 2015 and 2016, as part of Adidas's Future Kings series, Lionel Messi picked out 10 players each year who he felt had the potential to go on and dominate world football. It's unclear, to me at least, how much of an impact Messi had upon the selections, and how much of it was just Adidas putting his name to the series to gain greater traction. Some of the selections suggest that Messi may actually have been involved, and not all of them are or were Adidas athletes. But particularly, the 2016 list does seem to be rather diplomatic, featuring at least 2 players that I find it hard to believe Messi could have watched very often, at least at the time. Anyway, I thought that it would be interesting to take a look back at the youngsters that Messi may or may not have picked out, and we will assume for now that he really did, since that makes the whole thing that little bit more interesting. The video is about the 2015 selection, so they are the primary focus, but at the end I'll rattle through Lionel's picks from 2016 as well. So we can all either laugh at what a massive buffoon he is, or commend his powers of foresight as being as impressive as his ability with a ball at his feet. It makes a change from it being me that's up on trial in one of these retrospective videos. That isn't me, just to be clear. It is Hermann Goering, veteran World War I fighter pilot turned high-ranking Nazi politician. Probably a poor choice as a photograph of a trial with the benefit of hindsight. Right, well, here are the 10 future kings of football that Lionel Messi picked out in 2015. Where are they now? 10th, Jeremie Boga, Atalanta. We start with one of Lionel Messi's best decisions, other than his decision to stick it out at Barcelona as a child when he contemplated quitting due to homesickness, and that is the familiar face of Jeremie Boga. One of the great many brilliant academy players who could never really get a look in at Chelsea, back in 2015, Boga was still yet to make his senior debut. He had already represented France at both under 16 and 19 level though, and he had a growing reputation at Stamford Bridge, aged 18, having starred in 2 FA Youth Cup winning campaigns and 1 UEFA Youth Cup. Boga spent the 2015-16 season on loan at Rennes in Ligue 1, followed by a season playing in La Liga for Granada. He actually started for Chelsea in the opening game of the 2017-18 season against Burnley, but he was replaced in the 18th minute after Gary Cahill was sent off. The role that luck plays is routinely underestimated in football, and Boga never played for Chelsea again. His big break came in the summer of 2018 when he was signed by Sassuolo for just £3.5 million, and he enjoyed a particularly memorable 2019-20 season which even saw him linked with a return to Chelsea. Now aged 25, Boga joined Atalanta in the most recent January transfer window in a loan deal which Gianpiero Gasperini's side made permanent this summer for a fee reported to be close to £20 million. At international level, Boga now represents Ivory Coast, with whom he has won 10 caps in total. Overall, whilst Boga perhaps hasn't dominated world football just yet, he has done well, and you'd have to say that this was a fairly decent shout. 9th, Ronnie Lopes, Sevilla. There wasn't a single Spaniard, Argentine, or Barcelona youngster in Lionel Messi's 2015 Future Kings predictions. Somewhat surprisingly, given that you would expect those to be his strongest points of reference. And there is only one player from his 10 that plays in Spain now. That is Ronnie Lopes, who Messi wasn't alone in tipping for greatness back in 2015. Actually contracted to Manchester City at the time, Lopes was a huge star for Portugal at youth team level, and he scored 14 goals in 24 games for Portugal's under-19s whilst playing in attacking midfield. Frustrated with his lack of game time at the Etihad, despite having enjoyed a bright spell on loan with Lille, Lopes joined Monaco in 2015, whilst still aged only 19, for a fee of £9 million. Lopes' first full season in Monaco was absolute dynamite, as he scored 17 goals and made 12 assists, with his game time split almost equally between the left and right flanks. He suffered a big drop-off the following season, along with the rest of the Monaco squad, as the club burned through 4 different managers in a single season and fell from second the previous campaign all the way down to 17th. Lopes' stock was still sufficiently high from the previous season that, in the summer of 2019, he joined Sevilla for €20 million, in a move that also saw Wissam Ben Yedder head in the opposite direction. Despite the big fee, Lopes has made just 5 La Liga appearances for Sevilla, and following loan spells with Nice and Olympiacos, the Andalusian outfit are reportedly looking to offload him this summer. There was talk of interest from Corinthians recently, but Lopes is reportedly keen to remain in Europe. So overall this one has been a bit of a mixed bag by Leo. In 2017-18, you'd have to say that he looked like a genius, but the jury is still out now on what Lopes' legacy in the game will be, currently aged 26. 8th, Timo Werner, Chelsea. There is a bit of a Chelsea theme to a few of Messi's 2015 future kings, and Timo Werner is one such example. An incredibly prolific goalscorer at international youth level, following 26 goals in 32 games for Germany's under-17s and 19s, plenty of people felt Werner was destined for greatness even at that very early age. Despite his obvious promise, things didn't quite work out for him at club level at Stuttgart before newly promoted RB Leipzig pulled off a real coup by signing him for a club record €10 million in 2016. It turned out to be a dream move for Werner and an absolute bargain for Leipzig, and in his debut campaign, Werner bagged 21 goals in 31 games as Leipzig finished as Bundesliga runners-up behind Bayern Munich. In 4 seasons playing at the Red Bull Arena, Werner scored 95 goals in 159 games, which is an incredible record and is the most in the history of the club, and he was sold to Chelsea for £47.5 million 2 years ago. Werner has been, well, less prolific at Stamford Bridge, where he has scored 23 goals in 89 games, and there is just a sense that Chelsea haven't really played to his strengths. For Germany, it must be said, Werner has scored 24 goals from 53 caps, which is a great record for a 26-year-old, and it makes him one of Messi's strongest selections. 7th, James Wilson, Port Vale. We go from one of Messi's best 2015 picks to one of his worst, with the benefit of hindsight at least, though there is a good reason why James Wilson is playing for Port Vale when he ought to be hitting his prime. A Manchester United player from the age of 7, Wilson was always one of the most highly regarded members of the United youth ranks, routinely skipping years and playing against players who were much older and indeed larger than him. I was actually at Old Trafford when Wilson made his senior debut for the Red Devils on the final day of the 2013-14 season, whilst Ryan Giggs was in caretaker charge of the club, since the game was against my team, Hull City. Wilson started and scored twice in a 3-1 win, and from that moment on, there was great excitement beyond just the 4 walls of Manchester United about what might come next. Unfortunately for Wilson, the answer was, well, not very much, for a while at least. He spent most of the following season sitting on the bench, followed by a quiet season on loan at Brighton, and then came a horrible knee injury whilst on loan at Derby County. Wilson was ruled out for almost a year, having ruptured his cruciate ligament, and even after he returned, he barely featured in a season on loan at Sheffield United. Wilson has since had stints at both Aberdeen and Salford City, and last summer he joined Port Vale on a free. Wilson played a pivotal role in the season just gone, playing 47 games and scoring 15 goals in all competitions, as the club from his native Staffordshire won promotion to League One. You could hardly say that represents dominating world football, but it is a start on Wilson's road to redemption, and it'll be interesting to see how both he and Port Vale get on in League One next season. 6th, Gyasi Zardes, Colorado Rapids. No nation had more representation in Lionel Messi's 2015 future kings than the United States, and Gyasi Zardes is the first American we're going to take a look at. The oldest player among Messi's 2015 selections, Zardes is 30 now, which makes him a full 5 years older than the likes of Jeremie Boga. It also means that he was already well into his 20s when Lionel Messi picked him out in 2015, and he had just enjoyed his breakout 2014 season, in which he scored 19 goals in 41 games for LA Galaxy, which most likely explains his inclusion. He won a whopping 19 caps for the USMNT in the calendar year of 2015, though he only managed to score 3 goals, and he also failed to hit double figures in any of his next 3 seasons at club level. In 2018, Zardes joined Columbus Crew in a swap deal involving Ola Kamara, where he enjoyed a real renaissance over the next 3 seasons, particularly during his debut campaign, in which he was unfortunate to miss out on the MLS Team of the Season. A few months ago, Zardes brought the curtain down on his impressive time in Ohio, following 61 goals in 122 games, joining Colorado Rapids for a potential $1.4 million, though a great deal of that is based solely upon add-ons. The 30-year-old has won 67 caps for the USMNT, with whom he has scored 14 goals, and he should be well prepared for his retirement, whatever happens, given that he graduated in criminal justice during his college career. 5th, Maxwell Cornet, Burnley. Still at Burnley, though for how much longer is unclear. If the Clarets do somehow manage to keep hold of Maxwell Cornet this summer, you'd back him to absolutely tear the Championship apart. A rare bright spark at Burnley last season, and a rare non-British signing by Sean Dyche, Cornet arrived at Turf Moor in a €15 million move from Lyon. In his debut campaign, the Ivorian international scored 9 goals, which not only made him Burnley's top scorer last season, it also meant that he scored over a quarter of all of their league goals, despite only actually playing in 26 out of their 38 league games. That, combined with a widely reported £17.5 million relegation release clause, is why Cornet is expected to leave Burnley this summer, with rumoured interest from Leeds United, Tottenham Hotspur, Chelsea, and Newcastle United among others. Back in 2015, Cornet had just joined Lyon from Metz, signed due to his very impressive performances for France's under-19 side. Like Jeremie Boga, despite representing France at youth level, he accepted a senior call-up from Ivory Coast in 2017, and he has since won 29 caps for the nation of his birth. 4th, Kenedy, Chelsea. I said the Chelsea link is strong in this list, and though you could be forgiven for not realising it, Brazilian wideman Kenedy is indeed still contracted to the Blues. One of the West London club's many serial loanees, Kenedy arrived at Stamford Bridge from Fluminense in June 2015 for £6.3 million, and he has since been sent out on loan 5 times. Full name Robert Kennedy Nunes de Nascimento, because his parents named him after Robert F. Kennedy, the 26-year-old has shown glimpses of the talent that earned him praise from Lionel Messi and a move to Chelsea in 2015, but none of his loan moves could accurately be described as having been a roaring success. To be honest, Kenedy is one of a number of players who proves that most young South Americans would be best served by getting 2 or 3 seasons of regular first-team football under their belts at their clubs in South America before making the move to Europe. But given the determination of European teams to be the first to pounce and the life-changing sums that they can offer these young players, that is easier said than done. Kenedy spent the first half of last season back on loan in Brazil with Flamengo before being recalled by Chelsea, though he did make just 3 appearances for the club upon his return. Although Kenedy is reportedly for sale this summer, his wage demands may prove to be a stumbling block for most potential suitors, and I suspect that is why we haven't seen too many rock-solid reports linking him with clubs just yet. 3rd, Khiry Shelton, Sporting Kansas City. Messi's second American selection from 2015 is someone who most viewers from outside of the United States are unlikely to be familiar with, and that perhaps doesn't bode particularly well in terms of Messi's prediction that he would be one of 10 future kings who would go on to dominate world football. A big, strong centre-forward who has also occasionally played out wide on the right, Shelton was only the second overall draft pick in the 2015 MLS Superdraft, indicating the high regard that he was held in off the back of his college career, and also most likely explaining why he made it onto Messi's list. Now, call me a cynic, because I am, but I find it hard to believe that Messi had watched an enormous amount of Shelton during his time playing for the Oregon State Beavers. But hey, maybe he is a man of many surprises. Unlike Messi, I suspect, I have watched Khiry Shelton, albeit not much, and I can conclude from what I've seen of him that he is not very good at football. New York City FC were the club that drafted Shelton back in 2015, turning down a substantial allocation fee to keep hold of him, and he went on to score just 6 goals in 47 games for them. As yet uncapped by the USMNT, aged 29, Shelton spent 2019 playing for Paderborn in Germany, where he scored no goals in 4 games, and since returning to the States with Sporting Kansas City, he has given an absolute masterclass on how to score the fewest number of goals whilst missing the highest number of chances. I am being a little bit harsh, but I don't think he's great. And he definitely isn't dominating anything other than the minutes per goals charts if you reverse them. Second, Accursio Bentivegna, Juve Stabia. There are plenty of rogue calls from Lionel Messi's 2015 Future Kings predictions, but few have aged worse than Accursio Bentivegna. Arguably, not even James Wilson. At least Wilson can blame a horrible knee injury, in part. Bentivegna didn't even sustain a long-term injury setback until 2019, by which stage he was already playing in Serie C, presumably picked by Messi because he had scored 4 goals in 6 games for Italy's under-18s in 2014, in addition to making his debut for Palermo, and he was renowned as being a skillful and diminutive technician, much like Messi himself. Unlike a teenage Messi though, Bentivegna was unable to kick on. He only went on to make 8 appearances for Palermo in total, in all competitions, thrice going out on loan before joining Carrarese on a permanent basis in Serie C. Aged 26, Bentivegna still plays in the 3rd tier of Italian football now, but for Juve Stabia, where he just enjoyed his best goal-scoring season to date, bagging 9 goals, as the club from Campania narrowly missed out on the promotion playoffs. First, Alexei Miranchuk, Atalanta. The last of Messi's 2015 Future Kings, though fear not, I haven't forgotten my promise to briefly run through his 2016 selections at the end. Alexei Miranchuk is a teammate of Jeremie Boga's at Atalanta. A man who many of you will recall was tipped for stardom in Russia from a very young age. Miranchuk made his debut for Lokomotiv Moscow at the age of only 17, and he played an awful lot of first-team football before he had turned 20. For Russia, Miranchuk won 20 caps for the country's under-21s between 2013 and 2016, and given that he's another player who is renowned for his touch, technique, and flair with the ball at his feet, it isn't an enormous surprise that Messi should pick him out. Now aged 26, Miranchuk went on to play more than 200 games for Lokomotiv Moscow, enjoying a sensational final season with the club in 2019-20, in which he scored 16 goals and made 5 assists from only 32 outings, whilst playing both on the right flank or as a number 10. He also impressed that season in the UEFA Champions League, which likely played a decisive role in convincing Atalanta to sign him for around €15 million the following summer. Linked with Roma in recent days, Miranchuk has had injury problems this season, but there is no doubting his talent at his very best. Overall, whilst making predictions in football is a fool's errand that will leave even the most mystical of Megs with a large dollop of egg on their faces, I would say that Messi's 2015 Future King predictions were really quite bad. I'm sorry, Leo. If I hadn't have said it then, someone else would have done in the comments. But what about his 2016 selections? Well, There you had Patrick Roberts, who just joined Sunderland from Manchester City, having spent the last 6 months on loan at the Stadium of Light. Jean-Kevin Augustin, who was outstanding for France at youth level, but just joined Basel from Nantes on a free transfer. Davide Calabria, who still plays for AC Milan and has won 7 caps for Italy, aged 25. Former Chelsea midfielder Nathan, who never actually played for the Blues but was another serial loanee, who is now on loan at Fluminense from Atletico Mineiro. Alex Muyl, another American as yet uncapped by the USMNT, who plays his club football for Nashville. Nadezhda, or Nadia Karpova, the former Russia women's international, who now plays a club football for Espanyol in Messi's old hometown, and who recently spoke out against Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which means she probably won't be heading home anytime soon. Thai number 10, Chanathip Songkrasin, who plays for J-League champions Kawasaki Frontale. Former Monaco midfielder Gabriel Boschila, who now plays back home in Brazil for Internacional. Danish international Kasper Dolberg, who has been with Nice since 2019. And finally, Gambian forward Kakuta Mane, who was playing for Vancouver Whitecaps back in 2016, but is currently without a club, most recently having played for San Antonio FC in the USL Championship. And breathe. So there you have it. Supposedly, Lionel Messi's 2015 and 2016 future kings who would go on to dominate world football. Rubbish, most of them, if we're honest, weren't they? Especially given that they weren't even, random or rogue shouts. They almost all had glittering youth team careers, hence why Messi, or someone else, picked them out. A brilliant footballer, but useless at predicting future greats. And why would he be any good? He was about 27 or 28 at the time, busy scoring more than a goal a game as Barcelona won the Champions League. I shouldn't think that he spent all that much time keeping tabs on Gambian youngsters or the bloody Oregon State Beavers. My apologies to any Beavers who might be watching, but you get the idea. Anyway, I found it fun, if a little silly, so I hope that you did too. If that was the case, then why not hit the like button? It is completely free of charge. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and make sure that you are subscribed and have notifications turned on for the ever brilliant HITC Sevens. And you can also find me on social media, on either Twitter or Instagram, via the username @HITC Sevens, should you wish to do so. I hope you all have an outstanding day.